Diary or notes from a future dead man? I don't know where my wife is. Apparently when our plane went down, she was thrown the other way, and me and our pilot the other way. And now the poor guy's lying there delirious. When I ask him about his radio, he makes noises that don't make sense. The wind here is so fast that when it throws a handful of sand at you, you feel as if you had been hit with a good portion of shotgun pellets. From food, I found only a few chocolate bars bought in Egypt. Water was my own urine. Thanks to a survival show, it was the only thing I could remember. I try to find food and water, but I can't even take 4 steps before I fall to the hot sand with pain in my leg. The pilot seems to be about to die as he is completely paralyzed. I'm not a doctor and can't do anything to help. The hope remains that help will come quickly. After all, an airplane missing from radar simply cannot fade into oblivion. In the night, awoke from someone's presence. The impenetrable darkness immediately hid the intruder, but I could swear I saw a foreign shadow. I pressed myself against the icy wreckage of the airplane in a panic. It was probably a snake or a scorpion, or maybe some kind of lizard. I wonder if the local fauna is poisonous. I'm sure they are. You can't trust anything around here. I don't remember falling asleep, only waking up. The paralyzed pilot felt better. The shock had worn off, and he stopped moaning and started moving his fingers. It's a good thing. I'm not alone. On his advice, I searched the nearest wreckage, found a couple of bottles of water and pieces of bread, probably from the sandwiches usually served by stewardesses during the flight. Where are they now, all those stewardesses? To keep from dying from the heat, I washed my head with water. When it was finally getting evening, I tried to climb the hill and look around. Maybe I would see my wife or someone else. Maybe there was a doctor on board. The ascent was unsuccessful. My aching leg refused to move me up the hill. I had to ride my ass back down. How do you even make a fire with chopsticks? I've been rubbing them for an hour, and it's no use. It's gonna be a cold night. I covered the pilot with a torn parachute, and I'll try to put on some of the rags I found. The more, the better. I'll get deeper into the wreckage. Maybe at least there will not get those nasty lizards. There were rustles again during the night. When I'd had enough, I decided to disperse the buggers, whatever they were. But as soon as I opened my eyes, that intention melted away. Something loomed over me, something dark and creepy, with huge glowing eyes. I remember hitting it in the eyes. It howled and recoiled, but then it clung to my shoulders and my legs at the same time. God, how many paws did it have? I must have passed out, because I woke up in the morning, all alone. There was no pilot outside. The parachute was lying where the man should have been. I tore off a piece of iron pipe from the wreckage of the plane. It will come in handy if uninvited guests dare to attack again. Something very strange is happening. Another man has taken the place of the pilot who disappeared last morning. Apparently another survivor. What luck. I thought I was going to be alone in the whole damn desert. His clothes are tattered, and he's exhausted, but he doesn't seem at all worried about the accident. I can't send him to get food or water, so I just have to take it as it comes. Pray. I wish my wife had come instead of this stranger. I hope, after all, that she survived, and that she is better off than I am right now. The stranger sleeps a lot, but I can't do that. At night, those things walk around plane and whisper. I keep a pipe near my makeshift bed, though I doubt it will help fight off a whole pack. The other survivor can't hear anything. Says I'm hallucinating from the heat, but that's unlikely. At least I'll be ready for surprise attacks. Before going to bed, I caught some small bugs, of which there are many. It's not enough to eat, but it's something. The main thing is to tear off the wings, or they get stuck in your teeth. They came this night. Under the cover of darkness took my fellow traveler. Idiot. I warned him. I tried to help him, but someone held my shoulders tightly so I couldn't reach the pipe. I saw the creature with the burning eyes again. Tried to hit it, but one of the other creatures stung me. God, it felt like a bee or snake bite. The damaged skin itched and venom flowed through my veins. Am I poisoned? They left, and I was able to get some sleep. To my horror, I came across the pilot I had taken earlier. He was lying where he had spent the first 24 hours after the crash. I tried to talk to him, but to no avail. Poor guy's condition is critical. What did those monsters do to him? The wind must have blown large stones out of the sand. I'll try to find a use for them one of these days. In a place like this, you can't skimp on anything. Nothing. I strangled the pilot today. He was moaning too loudly. Could have baited the creatures, and I had to put a drained pillow over his head. A light squeeze, a muffled grunt from under the pillow a couple minutes, and it was over. I did him a favor. The creatures showed up on a fresh corpse. It seemed to be waiting for the pilot to die so they could take him and satiate themselves. I retreated into the ruins, and when I looked out, the body was gone. Once again, my service to him was invaluable. I'm drinking piss and eating bugs. I'm sick of it all, but it keeps me alive. I started building a wall out of some rocks I found recently, but for some reason it's falling apart. I've given up. I'm so tired. I've lost count of days. 17th or 18th. Maybe it's the 20th. I'm very sick. I'm hungry and thirsty, but there's nothing. I've tried chewing my shirt and my shoes. My tongue is as dry as this desert itself. I couldn't even pray out loud anymore. The creatures came in the night, groping me, whispering about something. I didn't even open my eyes. I was so exhausted. Surprisingly, I was alive, but I'd rather die than live like this. A miserable existence. That's what it is. In the morning, I found a note in a strange language near me. I couldn't decipher it, but it's good to know that at least these things have a written language. So they're not exactly barbarians, but all the stones outside are gone. Only 3 remain. But what can I do with 3? The iron pipe is gone, too, leaving me no way to defend myself if I need to. Soon I'll be dead. My last entry. I don't want to agonize and suffer anymore. I don't want to die slowly. I'd rather kill myself so I can see my beloved again in heaven. I have no hold on this world. I look for a piece of glass. There's one around here, and slit my wrists. I hope it won't hurt, because I've been through enough. I tried. I was really trying to survive. From the doctor's notes. Patient DK was brought in by his wife, who claimed that her husband had him acting strangely since his head injury from the accident. Upon examining him, we realized that the man was suffering from hallucinatory, paranoid syndrome. We placed him in the ward where patient N was located. We also placed the patient's belongings and an empty notebook in the room. DAK tried to make notes in it, but we could not read much as he hid the diary under his pillow. One of his legs was tied to the bed, preventing him from leaving the room. In the notes, he thought his roommate was a pilot who had been paralyzed, and that the rope was rubbing his leg was an injury sustained in a plane crash. Quite an interesting incident. Before going to bed, DK took his blanket and covered his neighbor. He himself put on 2 woolen sweaters over his jacket. Instead of an iron mug with water, He drank his own urine. Now, he will have to serve the liquid and food in a different form. July 8th. Patient DK found water. I had to pour it into a plastic canister and wrap some bread, so he thought it was a gift from the desert or some leftovers from the crash. Sick D feels hot, though the temperature stays under 20 Celsius, pouring water on his neighbor's head and on his own. At night, when they are asleep, we will take patient out to continue to observe and see what treatment needs to be administered. July 9th. Patient N was moved to another room. Patient DIK's temperature rose, and we had to remove 2 sweaters from him. During this simple procedure, he punched the primary physician right in the face, breaking his glasses and damaging his pupil. We had to administer a sedative. The patient described in his diary as strange creatures. The disease seems to be progressing. In the morning, DK broke a partition at his bedside, apparently to defend himself. Early in the morning, a doctor will check in with him to try to reassure the patient. July 12th. The patient is distrustful of our physician. He has become more withdrawn, no longer sees or perceives food, switched back to urine, started eating cockroaches and flies. July 14th. We took our colleague out of observation by bringing him back to patient N's room. Patient DK was not particularly happy about our visit and broke the nurse's arm with an iron pipe. We had to administer a powerful sedative to him. Despite plenty of food and water left by us, he preferred insects. July 15th. Due to the negligence of our doctors, we allowed the death of patient. We had to immediately remove the body from there. Patient DK is behaving worse and worse. Today, he started trying to put together a wall out of food for some reason. Apparently, he sees stones instead. July 17th. The patient is alone in the ward. He tears his clothes to shreds and chews. His condition is deteriorating right before our eyes. The patient is not aggressive. Now we can calmly administer medications and wet cleaning. We tried to give him water, but the poor guy chokes on it. He's worse than a helpless child. Left him a letter where, so to speak, we tried to play by his rules and convince him to eat those rocks. But alas. July 19th. The patient died from a cut vein and choking. He didn't scream in pain, having pushed a pillowcase from a pillow down his throat, thus blocking his airway, and while he was conscious, ineptly cut his veins with a shard of glass. The last thing he tried to do was reach for his notebook, but he couldn't do it anymore. Instead, he wrote 2 words on the wall with a finger dipped in his own blood. "I'm in pain." The end.